Police torture in Sri Lanka. The case of Prasantha Pradeep Kumara Francis, a report by the Asian Human Rights Commission. On the 21st of August 2008, at about 9 a.m, Mr. Kumara Francis went to the Panadura South police station to get a certified copy of a complaint he had made on the 18th with regard to the loss of his national identity card. As he was leaving the premises after obtaining the certificate, a police officer dressed in civilian clothes asked him if he was also known by the names of Chuti or Patty. The officer then told him that he wanted to record a statement from him and took him to the crimes branch of the police station. He was made to sit on a chair, and the officer in civilian clothing asked him why he had come to the station. He said that he had come regarding the certificate, showing him the document in his hand. There were 4 other officers also dressed in civilian clothes. One of the officers then asked him if he was known as Bhutaya or Ghost. He also asked Prasantha if he had a younger brother and what he looked like. Prasantha then described his younger brother. Another officer then asked him if he had stolen any bicycles and that if he showed them where they were, they would not harm him. Prasantha denied having stolen any bicycles. He told them he worked as an electrician. The officers said that if he was not the one who had stolen the bicycles, then it must be his brother. He was asked if his brother was at home, and Prasantha said that he did not know his brother's whereabouts. The officers then called a person who had reported his bicycle stolen. They presented Prasantha to him and asked if he could identify him as the thief. The person said that the thief looked like Prasantha, but was definitely not him. The officers then took Prasantha to his home. The door was closed and there was no one in the house. After examining the surrounding area, they went back to the police station, taking Prasantha with them. Prasantha was again taken to the crimes branch and asked if he knew again where his brother was. Prasantha repeated that he had no idea of his brother's whereabouts. Then an officer said, "We know how to extract information from you," and took him to a hall adjoining the crimes branch. Prasantha recognized this as an officer's dormitory, since there were bunk beds, mosquito nets, clothes racks and 2 tables. The officers stripped him of his shirts, tying his hands in front with a blue cloth. They made him sit on the floor with his knees hunched up against his chest and placed his hands still tied around them. Then they passed an iron pole through his hands and under his knees. In this manner they hung him from an iron pole, raising and wedging it between 2 tables. Prasantha was hung upside down. The officer who had taken him into custody then beat him with a wooden pole. Each time he was hit, the impact swung his body around until it stopped with his head upside down. In this position, the officers beat the soles of his feet with a pole. He was tortured in this manner for about 1 hour. Finally, the torture was stopped. They pulled his hands to his side, supporting his spine and making him stand. Both his legs were numb, but the officers made him walk before he was put into his cell. On the 22nd of August, the officer who had taken Prasantha into custody was wearing his uniform. On this day, Prasantha's mother came, but she was not allowed to see him. The entire day, Prasantha was kept in a cell, but given regular meals. At noon on the 23rd, the same officer took him out of the cell. He began assaulting and kicking him about the face and body before taking him to the crimes branch. Again, Prasantha was asked where his brother was. Again, he said he did not know. Then the officer said, "We will find out," and took him to the same hall where he had been tortured before. He was tortured again, beaten over his body and soles of the feet by the same officer. The officer used another means of torture. Prasantha was shown some kuchi, chilies, and was told that the juice was going to be put into his eyes. Then the officer made a wad, wrapping the chilies in a cloth, which he squeezed into Prasantha's eyes and nose. This was done while Prasantha was hung upside down. He screamed in pain, asking for water. This treatment lasted for about an hour until he lost consciousness. Prasantha was then lowered to the floor and, like on the previous day, made to stand and walk. He could not open his eyes. The pain he felt in his body and eyes was so severe that Prasantha was not aware of what happened after that. He was aware that he was taken to a washroom where a tap was opened and he was made to sit under it. Prasantha says he sat under the tap for about 15 minutes. He was returned to the crimes branch and made to sit on a chair, handcuffed to the leg of a table. He felt faint and was not aware of what happened next. He vaguely remembers having eaten. When he fully recovered his senses, it was the 24th of August and he was in the police cell. He was then presented before the Panadura magistrate at his official bungalow. The magistrate did not ask any questions, and Prasantha was remanded in the Kalutara prison. On the 25th, he was arraigned before the Panadura magistrate's court. A charge had been made against him of stealing a bicycle. Attorney-at-law Abhisingha appeared for Prasantha. He informed the magistrate that Prasantha had been assaulted by the police and that he needed medical treatment. The magistrate granted bail. However, since there was no one to furnish the funds, Prasantha was again sent back to prison. He sent a written complaint dated 27th of August, setting out the details of his incident to the Inspector General of Police, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, the National Police Commission, and the Senior Superintendent of Police, Panadura. However, no credible inquiries have been conducted into this incident.